Hi, everybody, and welcome again to another Clare GAA TV podcast. Speaking to Clare club legends and people who've given their life to the GAA, and one man that's well known to an awful lot of people in Clare, especially corner forwards who we never give any frees to and always looked after the backs. Ambrose Heagney from Corofin. How are you keeping, Ambrose?
I'm good, thanks, Michael. I'm good. You speak there of legends. I definitely wouldn't regard myself as a legend. While I would be known in County Clare as a referee, and that's fair enough too, because I did 20 years of it and thoroughly enjoyed it. But I'd like to be known as well as a Corofin mentor and a coach at Corofin, and someone that's very involved and passionate. I'm very passionate within the club here, and I love the club that I have. So so that's going forward. That's where I am now. Thoroughly involved with the club and getting involved in the GAA that I haven't had done because I couldn't really do it when you're involved with refereeing. You're kind of solely you're solely caught up with refereeing really, and you have to stay away from administration while you're refereeing. So I'm enjoying the side of the game now. I kind of moved on from the refereeing at the moment. So it took me a while though as well to move on from it. But however, that's where I am now.
And tell me, tell us a bit about yourself, where you came from, your family and all that.
I was born in Ballinasloe. Not a lot would know that. I'm a native of Ballinasloe. Born there in 1962. I wasn't long born actually, and I was anointed 2 days later. I had a kind of a blood disorder, but thankfully everything went well, and here I am today. My parents, my mother is a Roscommon woman and my dad is a Galway woman. They were both nurses and they met in Ballinasloe at work. And so I have two brothers and a sister. They're all older. I'm the youngest and the baby of the family. My poor mother passed away last March, Lord have mercy on her. My dad is still alive. He's almost 95. Very passionate about the county and the club. He's a Portumna man, so he had a lot to shout for the last few years. And he gave me, I suppose, a big element of my GAA, passion and the love that I have for it, and the friends that I had around Ballinasloe as well. I grew up in school in Garberley College. Garberley would be renowned for both hurling and rugby. I never played rugby. Played the hurling all right, played wing back on the Garberley team. We won the Connacht Colleges team. We beat Portumna in the final, and we moved on then, and I made a Connacht Colleges team, just kind of like a kind of an all-star award thing of in Connacht, and that was it for me. I didn't make any minor Galway teams or any other teams. I was an average hurler, to say the least, being honest about it. What I love most about hurling, it's amazing, is I loved the game, but I loved the training part of it. And where most lads didn't like the running part of it, but I did. I had a great desire for running and keeping fit. And I suppose that's where I am today in relation to my running and my refereeing. They kind of walked it hand in hand. I had a great upbringing, really. Great friends, a great family. They're great support. My two brothers were very supportive of me and my sister down through the years. And I loved it. I loved Ballinasloe. And the amazing thing about Ballinasloe and Corofin, they're both red and white. And so I always had the red and white colours really regarding my club. And I look back on Ballinasloe and still do, even though there's nobody left there at home now, but because my dad has moved out to one of my brothers at the moment. And I have great memories of Ballinasloe and Galway, and of course cherish when Galway won in 87 and 88, and when they won there recently against Limerick, or not against Limerick, but against
Waterford.
Against Waterford, they were great memories. And then, I brought on my Clare connection then with Clare. So growing up was good to me. I cannot say, but I've had a good upbringing.
And then you obviously went to did you go to college to study psychiatric nursing, or did you just go into the practical side of it?
College at the time, Michael, no. The reason I did psychiatric nursing really was, I suppose when I look back at it, like my mum and dad were two nurses, and my sister Anita, she became a nurse. My two brothers, Joe and Gerard, they were nurses. And so I suppose really there was, all I could hear at home wasn't anything between nursing and this, that, and the other. But so I suppose I developed a little flair for it, got a summer job in the hospital in Ballinasloe, thoroughly enjoyed it. So I suppose from there on in, I suppose I had the bug. I suppose I enjoy helping people, you know, especially people that are in the depths of despair. I thoroughly enjoy sitting down and talking to someone and seeing could I alleviate what they're going through. Yeah, I suppose I got that book from the family and brought it here, and like the family as well, they all married nurses, so did I. So I married a nurse, Margaret Horton. She's from Dora Bearfield, and we got married in 1988, and with 4 children, Kevin, Stephen, Niall and Ciara, all again immersed in the GAA and all passionate about the game. And I suppose they got it as well from me, and you know, Margaret to a lesser extent, you know, she'd have a great interest in the camogie now, but she wouldn't have as much interest as would have I had, which was as well because I suppose I was gone to games more than at night really, you know. But yeah, Gerard and Joe loved games, and of course, being successful in the last few years, it really kind of brought us all together, you know, going to the games and enjoying the games. So yeah, the GAA has been great for me really, and great to me. You know, I mean, I owed a lot. I owed a lot actually. You know, so so I came from Ballinasloe to Ennis in 1981. And haven't looked back since really. I suppose I kind of came, my brothers would slag me over this really. I became more of a Clare man than they did. And, you know, you say, well, why did that happen, Ambrose? I suppose once I started refereeing, I got to know the players, you know, the inter-county players. And, you know, it was one of the things I most liked about the refereeing. It wasn't just being in the centre of things, but I loved being out there in the middle of very, very good players, club players, whoever they may be, passionate players, which I love most. And I love being in the middle of that, watching those guys. I suppose I developed a relationship then with them and got friendly with them. And so ever since Clare would play, I would be very passionate, where my brothers wouldn't be. You know, I have a brother living in Rouen. Now, he'd like to see Clare win, but he wouldn't be as passionate as I would about Clare. I suppose that's because I got to know the lads very, very well. And then I got on the background team there for a few years, and that was lovely too. So I suppose, looking at it now, I suppose I'm definitely half a Galway man, half a Clare man. You know, I mean, I'd have to put my hand on my sleeve or my hand on my heart and say, yeah, I definitely am. I would, now, of course, when Galway are playing Clare, I do put on the maroon and white. I suppose you never forget your roots, and I suppose one you'll never either. So that's where I am, Michael. So we moved to Corofin. I got married in 1988 to Margaret Horton, and we moved to Corofin then, built a house in 87 here. And why Corofin? I don't know really why Corofin. I was looking at sites really all over around the outskirts of Ennis, be it Bearfield and be it out towards Quinn and Clarecastle. I just happened to come on a site here, and I know the next door neighbour actually was a colleague of mine at work. So I said, here, yeah, we'll chance Corofin, and I've never looked back really. It was the best decision of my life that I made coming to Corofin. Corofin has been nothing but good to me. You know, the one greatest memory I have in Corofin was, I suppose I wasn't here a week or two, and I went up to the club and brought my hurley with me. And of course, I told him I was from Galway, and I thought, God, this fella's going to be great. And I think when they saw me, they realised I was very, very average. You know, played junior with him, I played a bit of senior, but no, not a lot really. I'd been honest about it. I wouldn't have made any.
And to go to referee numbers for a second, I'd probably drift a bit. What is was there one game in all your years refereeing that you came out of and said that was some game I was in? And I'm not talking about it. Just in general, was it a club game? I know you did a bit of inter-county refereeing as well. Was there any one game you look back at?
I suppose, yeah, it's amazing you asked that question now, because I remember at half time, I refereed probably one of the biggest games I've ever refereed. It was Ballygunner and Newtown Shandrum in the Munster Club hurling final below in Thurles. And I remember my four umpires saying to me, and I didn't realise this at half time, that there had been no wide in the first half of the game. Gosh, I said, that's amazing. And I said, the four of them were saying that there were, that every ball was utilised to its max. And, that game absolutely dipped. And I was nervous, believe me. The legs were jelly enough, and it would be a bit like that as well. I would be tentative enough, on the big day until the game would get going. But that day, yeah, I have great memories from that particular day. I came away from that game. Oh God, my emotions were high, and I was walking on air really that day. Of course, refereeing the first county final that I did, the Bridgeon and Dora Bearfield. Yeah, God, yeah, I was tentative that day, and I was nervous enough that day, but it went well, and I did a few more. What I loved most about refereeing was, and some of my colleagues in refereeing wasn't gone in this, but I loved to go into two neighbouring games, parishes, we'll say, playing. There could be any two, we'll say, Newmarket, Clarecastle, Busheen, yourselves, and Cloney Quinn. I loved the vibes of that. I don't know what it was that just, I loved the bit of, I suppose I loved the passion and the bite that was there. And I always like to test myself on the day to see was I able for it, and to see was I up to it, and could I do it. And looking back on it, I never regarded myself as a good referee. Believe, some people used to say, "Oh God, he's one of the top referees." I wouldn't have looked at myself. I would have probably said, "All right, I was probably one of the fittest referees in the county." And I can understand that, because I was immersed in running as well, and that it got me out of so many problems. I remember a particular problem I ran into. I refereed an under-21 Munster final, Cork and Tip. And I had yellow carded a guy very early in the game. He had taken a guy out, and the card, fair enough, I thought it was a good decision. And then towards the end of the second half, didn't a ball come over near the sideline right in front of the Minters on both sides. And, two guys went for the pull. They missed the ball, they pulled again. And the next thing, they let the hurries and they caught each other and they arm wrestled each other down to the ground. And the game was a terrific game. It was a good game, flowing away. I had no bother with it again. And it just dawned on me, oh God, I'm after booking one of those guys. And I thought to myself, oh geez, Ambrose, what are you going to do? Nobody really deserved to be sent off, because it was a game that was hanging in the balance at the time as well. Cork and Tipperary. And what am I going to do? How will I get out of this? So I got a brainwave. I don't know what it was. I got up, lads, I said, I says, I have two choices now. I said, you're going to get a straight red each, or else shake hands. I throw in the ball and we get on with this. And I took out the red as if I was going to give him a red each, and said, oh no, Ambrose, no, go back to red. And I did go back to the red card, which was the right, of course. I didn't want to give it, and I didn't want to give a yellow either. So they shook hands, I threw in the ball, and it was a clap from behind. And I said, God, yeah, that was the right decision. And I remember the county secretary from Cork lost the game, actually. County secretary Frank Murphy came in to me afterwards. Oh, Jesus, I'm going to get lacerated here, because the Tipperary man should have gone technically. And he said to me, he was awful nice. He said, fair play to you. He said, I'd love to see common sense. But the one thing, I'll finish with the story now. The assessor was from Waterford, and he absolutely crucified me in the assessment. He said, I shirked it, and I didn't give the second yellow, and I deserved the second yellow. I should have given two yellows, and the guy got off. And, technically he was right, but that wasn't the way, and that wasn't my style of refereeing. And, did it hinder me a little bit going forward? Possibly it did. But would I still do the same again? I would, of course, yeah. But that was my style of refereeing. I preferred not to send guys off, but I did it. Sometimes I got it right, sometimes I got it wrong too, so.
I suppose, bringing that on a little bit, was there a style of player that you liked, or maybe you give subconsciously over I'm not talking about any particular person. Was there a style of player that you liked and you subconsciously said, I won't, because you played in the backs, did you give the benefit of the doubt to the backs? Or did you try to look after forwards? Did you ever think of it that way?
No, I never looked upon it like that, as looking at a defender's side of it, or looking at a corner forward side. I suppose the guy that got away with most with me was the guys that played on the edge, because I really liked those guys. I won't mention names, but I can envisage in my head guys that really played on the edge, where they really tested me. And, at times I was a little bit anxious when I would be refereeing them, but because I knew they'd test me, and they did test me, and they'd pull hard. But I like that, I like that about refereeing. I like the passion that the people. I love the passionate clubs. I love the clubs that would die for each other, or if they had a young lad come on and if he got a clip by someone else, all the lads would move in. I like that, even though it caused me problems on the field to try and address it. But I admired it nevertheless. I suppose that's the type of lad I am too. I'm a kind of an passionate old devil. And as a hurler, I played on the edge as well. No, my hurling was average to poor, so I wasn't a good hurler per se. But yeah, they're the type of guys. I never looked upon it as you say, a corner forward or a corner back. Would he get a soft free? I wouldn't think so. No, I never really looked at giving the soft frees. I probably wasn't one for soft frees. I suppose unless the occasion warranted and that I was kind of losing a little grip on the game, then I would start maybe, oh God, Ambrose, you need to pull a bit more here. And yeah, I'd have to do that as well now and again, which I did. Yeah, that's,
And would you have felt that clubs might have known that you were the type of referee that allowed the game to flow? And do you think it often probably determined some of the games you got, because clubs were saying, well, look, we're going to get fair play here. This man's going to let it flow. If we don't do anything silly, we'll be there. We'll get a good game out of you.
Yeah, I'd agree thoroughly with that. Remember, in Cusack Park, particularly the dressing room that the referees tapped out in was at the back of one of the players' dressing rooms, and we'd often hear the speech and we'd often hear things. And I remember recalling the lads we laughing, like, lads, Heagney's refereeing today now. You'll fucking get away with nothing. That lad sees everything, whatever fucking do. So, geez, don't be, So I had to laugh at that. And, at times I saw probably too much. And, maybe that, in a sense, as well, not be a bit as well. Because sometimes, it's nice to let it go a bit more as well if you could. Because sometimes when you see too much, which I ran around the place, sometimes I did see too much and maybe should let it go a little bit more. But yeah, I was probably known to let it flow a bit, because I like the hard hit. I like the good, honest hit. I would like to think I'd pull for the, I'd like to. I let her go maybe soft freeze where other lads would give soft freeze. I would probably say, come on, you're man enough. You should be out here. You should be able to look after yourself. I probably went with the flow of the game. I'd probably weigh up the game. That's the way I get to feel, how's this game going? I'd often be saying to myself, how's this game going? Or I might talk to one of my linesmen, or my two great linesmen, always nearly every championship game I did, Fergie McDonough and Martin Leahy, and they would have been looked at, as top referees such, but they were top linesmen in my eyes. They'd always give me the vibes and tell me what's going on, or what, I need to have a word with number 4 numbers, this, that, and the other. And yeah, and my umpires were great as well. They kept me on my toes, particularly at half time. They always said to me, geez, you need to be watching this, you need to be, and that was good too, it was constructive criticism, and I enjoyed that, because it made me keep on my toes, which I liked really, to be on my toes, really. I like to be on the edge, I suppose that's.
And that was something I wanted to come to too. I suppose often referees are the centre point. I mean, who would have been, and you're probably the multitude of them, who were your go-to umpires in I suppose the bulk of your career?
Well, I suppose, the top of the ladder was Jimmy Nealon, who really started me out. Jimmy Nealon to me was not just as an umpire, but as he was great to give me advice in relation to every aspect of GAA, whether it be coaching or management or selector or whatever. And yeah, as an umpire, he was great. He's very witty as well, very, very witty. I remember he doing a game for me one day, and thankfully it wasn't a championship game; it was a league game, and it was in Tulla. And then a fence near the back of the goal, and the ball went over the bar wide. It was very close. And talked to Jimmy so much. Jeez, he said, Ambrose, he said, I'm not sure. He said, I was talking to your man there about selling yours. He said, and I said, Jesus, but he was that type of character. He just, but yeah, I mean, Jimmy and his family came on board big time. Shane and Killian. I had my neighbours, the Cumminses. I had the Loughmans there, John McHenry started me out, and John Maher, those guys travelled the countryside with Andrew Monaghan, the referee as well. I mean, travelled the countryside, both linesmen and umpire. John Maher. Oh God, I looking back at it, I had a multitude. But, people often say to me I was a good referee, but I reckoned we had a great team. It wasn't. I don't really say that. We worked very, very well as a team. We always had a good, strong chat before the game, and I would tell the lads, "Listen, lads, come on, this is what we need to be on the toes here. Those lads deserve, top class officiating today, and they needn't to be coming to me after the game, whatever, giving out. If we do a right job, we get this right between us." And I worked well with the lads, and John Williams was another. Geez, I better not forget John. He was, he travelled everywhere and anywhere with me. And I probably will now end up forgetting someone, but those guys were just, they were my right hand men. You just give them the phone call on a Thursday evening when you get the fixture, and just Ambrose, yeah. Jeez, it was unreal. They loved the game as well. They absolutely loved it, but they loved doing the job, and helping me out. I put it down to teamwork, really, and any little bit of success that I had refereeing, I just put it down to my own young lads, actually. I mean, a few of my umpires were gone away golfing one year, and my two young lads, Kevin and Stephen, who I had brought in during the year, ended up doing the county final with me, which was fantastic, because I wouldn't have envisaged this, but it just happened that the lads were gone away on a golfing outing, and I was missing quite a few. Pat Curtis, actually, another guy that was he travelled with me to many, many games. Great to help me out. And Kevin and Stephen then did a county final with me, and that was memorable. I had a photograph on the day, and it's all about family and home and Corofin, and what I've been known as a referee, but Corofin means everything and anything to me. I'm so
to go to a county final day, and you're getting ready for it. I suppose senior is obviously the pinnacle, but you may have done the intermediates and the minors. At what stage of the week, we say you might have got the phone call 6 or 7 days beforehand, how do you prepare yourself for that Sunday?
Well, yeah, you're right. You get a phone call from the county secretary, usually Monday evening, and at times you'll be wondering, God, maybe I'm in line, maybe I'm not, whatever. And you'll be delighted when you receive the call. And 2 hours later, then, oh gee, it'll hit you what you're after being asked to do or what you're appointed to do. And then, it will hit you, and you kind of think about it too. Now, I had a few different things that I never did. I never listened to any preview on the radio at all. I never read any previews on the paper. Never. I just kept away from the papers whatsoever, totally. And even your own program, and they're fantastic. I used to just leave the program in the bag when I'd get it inside the park. I just had to try and focus. I often went into the toilet in Cusack Park, and I would do a little bit of deep breathing. Say, relax, and just kind of. And I know it well after a while. I remember my first county final. Gee, quite tempted. But once I threw in the ball, and I did it the first time ever. After that, then I said to myself, I'll always relax to bring me at the ball, because I just treated it like another game, really. And but you get a lot of well-wishers during the week. A lot of people, I would arrange to meet my umpires. I'd meet my umpires on the Friday, and the linesmen, and talk to them about what I wanted, what I expected, and or dress code, what colour we were wearing, and whatever. And I would, specify the importance of the game, or emphasise the importance of the game to everybody, and that we had a duty really to make sure that we did everything as possible we could to get things right.
Did you ever do a bit of research? Now, obviously, you didn't have to do research because Clare is a small county, and at some stage you probably would have refed the two teams either within a year of each year. Did you ever do research on the two teams to maybe say, well, this could happen, that could happen, that is possible to be getting involved in stuff? Would you ever do any of that? Or would you stay away?
Short answer to that, Michael. No, absolutely not. No, I never did. Because I never judged the player on his last performance, really, on his last game. Like, he might have got a yellow card the previous time for me or whatever, or he might have said something to me. And, but No, I never did. I never did a history of the players in the club or who was over. Yeah, I'd be conscious. Okay, I'd know who was the manager and stuff like that, and I'd be expecting who'd be calling up my name during the game. But no, I never did really. I took each game as a totally different game, and they were really, because sometimes if you go back like that and looking at as histories, you're kind of labeling them really with a history, and they mightn't produce that history in the game that you're refereeing. So no, I never went down that road of looking back or and reviewing players or their history before any big game. But the one thing that
sorry, another thing, just something I noticed from your refereeing, that a lot of referees sometimes are not able to handle, and I know it's easy for me. I was often on the line roaring at you, but you were able to take, maybe I'm getting this wrong, you were able to take the players, I think you understood it, maybe their ability that they were able to give out to you in a way to get the frustration out of themselves. I found that you were able to do that.
Yeah, I would listen to their frustration, and even if they threw an odd effort to me, I never took it on board personally. And in fairness, I never ever got abuse after a game. You don't get the flack, which, in fairness, some of it was warranted too. I did make mistakes. I made quite a number of mistakes. I'd say, honestly, I never did a game without making a mistake. It's part and parcel of any game. Like when 2 guys or 4 guys go for the one ball, geez, you don't see everything. Someone is pulling somewhere, someone and they're holding someone. So yeah, I had a habit of speaking to players. I know the players that played on the edge. And I'd be waiting, like when the ball would be coming down the air, and I'd be near enough, which I used to get into the habit of kind of running to that area when the ball would be put there, and I would say, lads, on the ball. And that's really what I wanted to tell them what to do, but I was just kind of really letting them know when I was there.
Yes.
And they could do then when I was there, well, okay, Ambrose is here, so, and then I kind of said, okay, well, they'll now not try to be fouling, because if they do, they'll know I'm here, and they'll know I'll spot something obvious anyhow. They might get away with small things, fair enough, and they did. And I listened to their frustrations, and I could understand their frustrations, and I even often said to them, listen, I probably made a mistake, and if I did, I'm sorry. Somebody come, and when he'd come to you with the frustration that he has, that you did miss something. And yes, Ambrose, you did miss that free, or you did miss that foul. You didn't see that hole in the hurley, or you didn't see the jersey pulled, or you didn't see him flicking the hurley in the air. Yeah, and you'd miss those things, and you'd have to, and I did often say, listen, I'm sorry, it wasn't intentional though. And I never did anything like that, when, just for the sake of letting it flow. I mean, if I saw free, yeah, I'd go along with the free, I'd often look, and I used to look at times to see could I give a bit of advantage as well if I saw free. Okay, if there was a bit of advantage, but I had good days, but listen, I had the other days too. I'll never forget my first ever championship game. It was under 21, and at first I made a hymns of the game. To be, and I got flack after the game, and you know what, I deserved it. And I have to put my hand on my heart and say, yeah, you did. Did a Munster Minor Championship game, Limerick and Cork. Whoa. If the ground opened up the same day, Michael O'Connor, I would have jumped into it. A guy caught a ball and he turned and he had his back to me, and I thought he had the ball in the hand, but he hadn't. He had the ball on the boss of the schlitter, but he had the schlitter cut so near the boss, or the hand on the hurley was so near the boss. He was controlling it, and he turned and he caught it a second time, and then he went to catch it again. Oh, gee. I put him up for catching it 3 times, and free was taken. Cork took the free, and I just said to myself, I knew by his reaction, and I knew by the line reaction I was wrong. The way you always know by by when the reaction is quite severe. So I knew I was wrong. So I just said to myself, which I normally wouldn't do this, if I get a chance now, they're going to get a free out. But the ball landed in, full forward, caught the ball, he laid it off to a corner forward, bang, goal. Well, if the ground opened up that day, Michael, I'd have jumped into it, because I knew I was wrong, and I was big time wrong. And now, as it turned out, it was an emphatic victory by one of the teams, so it didn't make a huge, but it bothered me because I knew it was possibly an early turning point in the game, and I got it wrong and very wrong, and I had to live with it. And let me put it like this to you: we normally stop in Killaloe on the way home, and we didn't stop that day. I wasn't stopping anywhere. I was cut up about it, and because I knew well, geez, and I suppose that's part of the referee now. You have to take the good with the not so good, and I had a not so good that day, and my first ever Under-21 championship game wasn't a good game either. But I learned, I think, from my mistakes as much as I could, and I did my best. And
what would you tell a referee now? What is the difference you see now from when you started to if you were now a second or third year referee? What has been the difference from 2000 to now?
Well, I see a lot of referees, and a lot of younger referees. There's two or three of them there, Rory McGann, and there's a young boy there from Niall Malone.
Malone.
Fabulous prospects, great referees. They're technically much, much better than I ever was. What I say about that is they're able to read the game at a distance. I wasn't very, very good at that. I had to be moving and I had to be up there. Some guys are very good to get angles right. And I remember Tony O'Sullivan came to me after a game, and Tony was a renowned referee at the time. And he said to me, Ambrose, I'm watching you refereeing. He says, I don't know how you're doing it or how you stick it. You're up and down the field like a racehorse. He said, will you start running at X's? He said, I start running. And I did it then eventually, and it improved me. It improved my refereeing. But I see lads are technically better now, starting off now. Okay. And that's good. And you have to be technical, but you have to have a fitness level as well. And you have to be up there and communicate with the players. And if I were to give any advice to anyone, I would communicate with the players. But don't mind to take notice of the management too much. Don't take too much more there. But talk to the players. Explain to them why you give that free that they're arguing about. Just give it. And if they're arguing about it, bring it 20 metres forward. Just tell them, listen, I'm not doing that. Okay, if he continues arguing, then you could bring it up again. But they deserve an explanation really for what you're after doing. Or you just say, listen, he's after doing this, that, or the other.
Just to maybe, without you mentioning it, did you ever take it seriously what the sidelines would say to you? Because in the heat of a battle, anyone will say anything. Was there any funny, I know I'm hitting this one, was there any sort of funny one-liners thrown at you? And you said to yourself, right, okay, I'd have to laugh at that.
I mean, I had one of my umpires was, going back to years, was a little bit hot in the head, and had a full forward, caught a ball and it went wide or go over the bar. I'm not sure which, but the umpire gave it for wide, and he went into the umpire, the full forward, and I watched him going in. This was only a league game, I think, and I knew it was argy-bargy between the two, and I was going to allow the puck out. I hate to delay in the game for going into umpires and talk. I said, here, blew the goalie to come on, and he wasn't coming. The two guys were still at it, and I could hear him shout. So I went in anyhow, and I went into my umpire first. I said, what's going on? He said, the ball was wide, and he's having a go at me. So I called up the player, and I said, listen, he's doing his best. I said, he's after giving it as a wide ball. I said, listen, don't be giving out to him. And he said, did you hear what he said to me? And he said, he called me out. And I said, listen, fair enough. I said, yeah, he could. And he's probably capable of calling you that too, the same guy. And I said, listen, fair enough. I said, listen, don't get involved so anymore next time. I said, so, and we left it at that. And I just smiled and laughed. Yeah, I put my hand on my heart and say I got very, I don't know how I was able to do it, but I was able to do it. I could open my ears to the players, and I appeared to close it off to the sideline and to the stand very well. And I don't know, it wasn't something I taught on or worked on, but it's just something that, and I often went up and down the sideline. I had a habit of line ball being taken, and I'd walk up and down the sideline. And sometimes I'd say, oh, geez, I'd look away. I'd never really give much eye contact, because that's what they look for. They look for me to give my eye contact or go over and talk to them. And I didn't, because the people at the game doesn't want to see a referee talking to a mentor on the sideline. He wants, people come to watch a game and to pay to get into a game. They want to see a game of hurling. They don't want to see stop-start Ambrose talking to this. So I just say, get on with the game, and the sideline or the sideline. I mean, I know myself. Listen, I'm as passionate as anyone on the sideline, and I have no doubt. And if I have to be honest with myself, I probably owe a lot of apologies to a lot of referees whom I had to go at myself, and so that's the passion, and that's part of the game. And I wouldn't like to see that go either. I think that's part of the GAA ethos, having passionate mentors on the sideline, lads that are given their freaking time to promoting GAA in their clubs, and I love to see that.
I can ask you a question. Did you have a favourite ground that you like to referee in outside of the park?
That's not really, but I suppose I love the bigger pitches more so than the tight ones, because I remember going into like the Rosslevin, it really put you on tenterhooks, because it was a very tight field, and every puck out there before going for the ball, and there'd be bits of schmozzles, which there was, and so the bigger the field, the better as it went. I didn't have any, Clarecastle was fine, all clubs actually, the grounds have improved considerably since I started refereeing, I didn't really, I loved Rouen, I suppose, is a great field. Actually, funny enough, I did very little refereeing in my own club, which I was delighted for, really. But yeah, Rouen was an outstanding field. It's like a field of carpet. It's a field that they never sand, and they never had to sand. And yeah, I enjoyed refereeing. Probably there would be one of my favourite places. But I never refereed much in Rouen either, because Jerry is involved solely with Rouen, and kind of a club that I kind of stayed away from, really, because we were very close neighbours here.
I suppose we say, maybe just to talk about Corofin in the last few minutes of our chat. I suppose we're saying in the last couple of years, Corofin and Rouen have had stellar success at underage. What do you think that's going to mean for Corofin in the next 3 or 4 years? Or do you feel it will translate? Or
yeah, you'd be hoping it would. Yeah, you'd be hoping it would, and all you need to do is look at Fecal, and they're trying it. So yeah, you'd be hoping it would. Yeah, we last year we had a good run with Smith O'Brien's in the quarterfinal of the Intermediate Championship. We have great young lads, and there has been great work done. Joe Cahill, John Fisher, those guys. Great chairman Brian Gillespie, and then great relationship with Rouen. I mean, I was involved with under 16 and minor 10 there with the Lionses, and yeah, fabulous. And it's not easy. It's not easy for them there, and it's not easy for us, because we're a dual club, and they're a very passionate club, Foley hurling with a huge history. So yeah, it wasn't easy for both clubs, but it has worked very, very well. And I had to put that down to both the players and the mentors, really, for gelling that together. But and going forward, it has to work. I'd be thinking it would. We've after winning 2 minor A championships in a row, and yeah, I would be hoping in the next year or two that we'll be knocking closer on the door of winning an intermediate championship. Not easy, because it's a tough championship to win. But yeah, I hope that ourselves and Rouen will be knocking at the door very close. And yeah, hopefully that day will come. Because that's, you talk about refereeing to me, and if I were to say what gives me my greatest, feat or greatest love, really, and desire is to see the club winning anything. I mean, I often referee games in the bridge, and I'd be rushing back to wherever to be Corofin or playing, and we might be, playing intermediate and playing, poorly enough, but I love to see him. Of course, my own were playing as well, Kevin and Stephen, and it was something else to be there to see them play, and to manage the Corofin team that went to the quarterfinal against yourselves, and that was fantastic. That was fabulous for the club, and I love seeing the underage now with the structure we have here now. Is fabulous, and yeah, I think there's great days ahead for us, and I hope there is, and I hope to be some bit of part of it. Whether it is an administration or a supporter or whatever. Yeah, I do. I honestly do. But that gives me a great old lift. I suppose if I look at my sporting, I have to look at refereeing, of course, my running, and that's what made me probably a better referee or getting the bigger games. I'd often wonder, why did I get it? I think mostly because I was so fit, and I was member of two athletic clubs, initially Kilnaboy Athletic Club under Vincent and Margaret McCarthy. Trained with them for years and thoroughly enjoyed it. And then I joined in as track under Jerry Hayes, Mary Cahill, and I met fabulous friends and people. I look at those now, and since COVID now, there's no training going on now. But people like Pat Morrissey and John Murphy and Shane Hayes, those guys that, they're fabulous friends to this day. And I ran for Ireland, believe it or not, and very few would know that, but it was over 55 across country. Went to Abbottstown and qualified for the Irish team. Kim was a third or fourth that day, and qualified for the Irish team and went to Swansea and got a bronze medal in Swansea and as a team event. And it was a big thing in my, bigger than refereeing. People have me up there as a referee, but if I were to look back and to be remembered, I'd like to be remembered as a decent runner. I remember. Small story about my running. I was out one day with a group of athletes, and I mean they were athletes. I was just a mulliker really. And anyhow, and one of the guys said, "Yeah, you can't really call yourself an athlete really unless you achieve four things." And I was listening attentively at this, because I kind of had dreams of calling myself some kind of an athlete. So he said, "You have to break 18 minutes for 5K. You had to break 36 minutes for 10K. You had to break an hour for 10 mile, and you had to break the 3 hours for a marathon." Well, I went home, Michael O'Connor, that night, and I'll tell you this much. I dreamt about this and dreamt about it and trained and dreamt about it and trained until the days came, and they did come. And thanks to Kilnaboy and thanks to Innes Track and Jerry Hayes and the lads, I broke the 5K. I did 17:35 and the Clare People 10K. I broke a 10K then, the same thing. No, the 5K was a 5K around Innes. That wasn't I did 17:35, and the 10K then was at the Clare People 10K. I did 35:19. I remember I was running. I could have ran for days that day. I was just one of those days. And then I did the 10-mile series, and there was a series, and it took me a long time. It was myself and Terry Hennessy, Martin Clancy, all got great runners. Fintan Lahav, great lads. And we tried the 10-mile thing, and the lads were able to do it, but it took me a while. But I eventually did Mallow. I broke it, and I did Mallow and Ballycotton, and I came back to Corofin anyhow, Kilnaboy, and I couldn't do it there. And I did the series again the following year. I did Mallow again and did Ballycotton. And Dungarvan was the other one, and broke them again. And then I did Kilnaboy eventually, and I broke it. And I said, one thing left now was the marathon. And the only regret I have, I suppose I never broke it in Dublin, but I went to Belfast on my own, drove up to Belfast, stayed in a hotel up there. I was mad. Are you sure I was mad? My wife thought it was for the birds. And stayed in a hotel, but I broke the 2:58. I did, and I came home, Michael, and I was walking on eggshells. It was just. But in saying that, I have a knee injury now. It probably is a result of all that running. But sure, do I regret? Oh no, I don't. I loved it, and that's what I loved about the refereeing as well, because the type of referee I was, running. I had to be running. I couldn't stay still. I just. I used to clock up about 10K at least in any match, at least 10K, if not more. I had to, I like to keep going, and that was just the way I loved training, as I said. From the outset, I said it from the outset. I loved running and training, and I suppose that brought me on into refereeing, And I remember distinctly. I'm probably going on now too much, but distinctly, I remember being asked, John Keller, chairman of Corofin GAA at the time, and he asked everyone at the meeting. He said, "I'm after getting a letter here." He said, "Lads, someone has to referee or do the course." And he asked everyone, including myself, no. So I do the course. And Sean Holland came on board then and asked me would I do another 14 game at Tummer, and I did. And between him and yourself, who was your secretary, we were chairman of Bowling over the time, I did minor A final the same year I started refereeing, and to get that, it was a fantastic achievement from my and the lads. But as you say, and you often say to me, it was a good game, but I was the only one that saw it because the fog that came down and Killaloe at the top of the game kind of nullified the day for me, really. But it was a good game, even though I think I was the only one that probably saw it on the same day.
Absolutely. I won't forget that game either. I was sweating for a long time from the fog, keeping Bodyke and the fog rising. And look at Ambrose, listen, thanks very much for that. You've given us a wealth of your life experience, and I suppose you have long more to go. And I did see you wearing the Galway jersey in 2018. So I forgave you for it. And again, I suppose there's a lot of cornerbacks in Corofin that would like to see you come back for one more year, and that's why I called you a legend to butter you up. I was taught to say that.
Of course you were. I made a comeback once in refereeing, and I suppose I wasn't finished it really. There's only a challenge, and no, I won't go back refereeing. It's all about youth nowadays, and what I would like to do actually, if I could see a young referee that needed any bit of assistance down the road, be it as umpire or even linesman, I would be able to assist them in any way I can about the game, because it is a tough game. But there is great youngness coming, and long may that last.
That's it. Okay, listen, thanks very much, Ambrose, for your chat, and hopefully we might see Corofin in a county intermediate final in the years to come, and you will be going up and down the line abusing the referee.
Absolutely, spot on.
Thank you very much, Ambrose.
Thank you too, Michael. Thank you very much, and thank you for asking me to do this.
No problem.